Awards aren't just a nice to have. They are strategy in their own right for growth in your business.
Yeah. And they should be part of every marketing strategy now.
Today I'm joined by Donna O'Toole, an award-winning entrepreneur and a global expert on turning recognition into results.
We have a responsibility to say, well, how am I going to raise my profile? How am I going to raise the brand awareness of this business? Because if you sit and wait for it to happen to you, the chances are you could be the best business with the best products in the world. It's not just going to land on you.
That's a kick up the ass for people listening right now.
She's here to show you how to make awards a game changer for you, your business, and your mindset.
You might be a bigger business, but that doesn't mean you're the best one.
Can one achieve one's potential without recognition?
Employees, they're more motivated by recognition than they are by pay rise.
What if winning awards is the secret weapon to growing your business, inspiring your team, and scaling your brand? Today's podcast is sponsored by Reclaim Tax UK. Head over to reclaimtaxuk.co.uk to learn more.
A great saying from Nelson Mandela, actually, which is either you win or you learn.
Let's do this.
ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business. Donna O'Toole, is recognition the biggest driver of human behaviour? Now, that is the question.
I think it's certainly a key factor. Whether it's the biggest driver, I think there's other things that can be huge drivers of human behaviour. But I think we all need some kind of incentive, but we also need some kind of validation as well. The thing that entrepreneurs find often is who's validating them, who's validating their idea. You know, when they go for investment, that feels like validation when someone wants to go for it. But when you get knocked down 20 times before anybody says yes, where are you actually keeping your motivation and keeping going from? So, but yeah, recognition is a big driver of human behaviour. I think even saying thank you to somebody, even just recognising that somebody's opened the door for you, made you a cup of tea that day, been there to talk to, that is recognition in itself. So yeah, I think it's certainly important.
Well, it's appreciation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of appreciation, actually, and start at home.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a married man, so I have to practice appreciation twice a day, every day with my wife. And if you can do it at home, by the way, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually employees now. There's been lots of research to show that employees find they're more motivated by recognition than they are by pay rise. So this piece of research showed that 85% of employees actually were more geared up to move forward, more wanting to stay with that company and happier, and therefore treating the customers better when they were externally recognised. Because it feels, as an employee, everyone wants a pay rise, of course they do, but it's quite an easy thing to give, and often it's company wide. So where's your individual recognition? Where's your team recognition? So that's something that's become super important nowadays as well.
I learned this from Brad Sugars. He founded the business that I run here in the UK, ActionCOACH. And he said leaders have got KPIs. And one of their KPIs is twice a day, every day, they've got to give recognition.
Yeah.
Maybe once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Do you believe that?
I don't think I would put a number on it as such, because I think there's many more opportunities to give recognition than that. Interestingly, it's something I'm super keen on, but even just in a day's work in a general business as usual, I always make sure we're saying thank you to the team, always make sure I recognise their anniversary for how long they've been at the business, or their birthday, something that's important to them. It doesn't always have to be, you know, someone's done something for you, or, well, I'm grateful for that. It's actually about saying, look, you know, you stop for a minute and recognise what you're achieving as well, because, you know, recognising our own achievements can be just as important. But certainly for me, it's about helping people to fulfil their potential. Because if no one's ever recognising what you're doing, if there's no acknowledgement, then you've got to be a very self-motivated person to keep going, often no matter what that is, whether that's work or life. And some people are, and they will be just as driven whether they're recognised or not. But for some people, they need that little bit of validation. They need someone to say, actually, that's brilliant. You're doing fantastically. Let's keep going. What can we do next?
It's a good point, isn't it, about fulfilling potential? I mean, can one achieve one's potential without recognition? I probably don't believe you can.
Well, it's difficult to say, isn't it? I think when you look at children at school, you know, and look at the praise that their teachers are giving them, And I'm sure there's been a lot of research around that, looking at the children who are not getting praised so much, but actually maybe they're being naughty, but they're doing it because they want the attention. And actually, if they were recognised for what they were doing well, would they even be doing that naughty thing in the first place? So, there's a lot. It's quite deep recognition. It comes from a deep place, I would say.
Yeah. And I've heard psychologists say this a lot, and please do comment on it, is all human beings, including you and I, we have two unmet needs at all times, which are the need to be admired, which is recognition,
Yeah.
And the need to feel understood.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently I've heard that men have the need to be admired more so than women.
Right.
Whether that's true or not, but I've definitely read that. And I would say that in awards recognition, actually that comes through a lot, because it often takes women a lot longer to have the confidence to enter awards and get recognition for themselves and for their own work than it does for men to step forward and do the same thing. So very often we'll find that women will put someone else forward, or they'll put their team forward, or they'll put their project forward, but they don't really want to put themselves into the limelight as much. It's a bit like that research that showed men will go for a job if they can meet 60% of the requirements of the job description, whereas women will wait till they can meet 100% of the requirements. It's the same for a promotion as well. So I'm a big champion of come on, ladies, let's get out there and get some recognition for what you're achieving, because there's a huge amount making up small businesses in the UK and globally who are driving the economy, who are doing huge things, and actually are always waiting for that final reason to put themselves forward or to be nominated or to be recognised in some way. But that reason never quite happens.
Do you think with men then it's potentially about the ego, or it's about their levels of ambition and they're courageous enough to do it now, 60%?
I think it's just we're different, and obviously at the end of the day, I mean, that's quite a it's a sweeping generalisation, because we've all got different personalities and we all want and look for different things. I think if you reverse it out the other way and you look at actually what happens when you're not recognised, so as deep as being made redundant or something like that, and feeling like, well, actually not, I'm being rejected actually. I think that can make a real difference. And we see, there's all sorts of research out there to show the impact that has on different people. But equally, it's like a promotion. When you look forward, well, actually, then you are being recognised for what you're achieving in the business. So there's different ways of recognising different achievements. But the reality is, I think a lot of people wait for recognition to happen to them.
Yeah.
And they don't take control of their own reputation in that respect, where actually, if you look at any kind of awards from your most sort of small town business award recognising local businesses right through to something like a knighthood or the King's Honours, everyone thinks it just happens and it just sort of lands on somebody somewhere, but there's a process. There's a process and there's a formula for every single award out there. They generally don't just happen to people. So no matter what kind of recognition you're looking at, someone somewhere is making that happen. And as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, I think we have a responsibility to say, well, how am I going to raise my profile? How am I going to raise the brand awareness of this business? How am I going to recognise my team for all the hard work they've done to get us here? And what process do I need to go through to make that happen? Because if you sit and wait for it to happen to you, the chances are you could be the best business with the best products in the world. It's not just going to land on you. So for me, it's not just about getting the recognition. It's about exercising your right and also your leadership to say, well, where does this business go next and how are we going to get it there? So, it's a big part of that journey.
It's a really powerful point, that is, isn't it? Generally speaking, it doesn't just happen.
No.
It's a proactive game,
yeah,
is this?
Absolutely.
And your reputation depends on it to a
Yeah.
degree. I learned this from a gentleman called Frank Dick, and he says, when you recognise him, praise the endeavour, not the result.
Right. Okay.
And what's your comments to that?
I think that's true. And I think we all need to know the story behind and the context of the endeavour. But harsh as it may sound, when it comes to, I'm talking about business awards, you need to understand what the result is, because you can work, the Endeavour could be working really, really hard and striving for years and years and years and never really quite getting anywhere. So actually, you need a bit of both. You need the story behind and you need the context, but you also need to have got to a result that's going to demonstrate why you stand out above other people.
Yeah, well done and well said, actually. I was probably referring to more of the acknowledgement on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of recognition.
Oh, and absolutely. We need to recognise the effort, because otherwise who's going to learn? You're never going to learn if you don't know whether your effort made a difference or not. And it might be, brilliant, well done for that effort. You've done a great job. Have you thought about how else you could have done that next time? Maybe if you haven't got the result that you want. One of the things that's really interesting about awards is people assume that there's a huge gap between whoever wins and whoever doesn't win. So often you'll get hundreds of businesses and great teams going into awards, and they're all really excited. And they get to the judging process and they become, get into the finals. And then they might win or lose by less than a point. But at the end of the day, everyone who didn't win walks away thinking, oh, that's it, we're terrible, or it's all a fix. They won because it's not fair, we were better than them. But actually, it's a tiny point of difference that allowed them to win and you not this time. Maybe with a different judging panel, the result would have been different. So I always say, take away from that a great saying from Nelson Mandela, actually, which is either you win or you learn. So no one's a loser here. Actually, you should learn something from the process and walk away knowing how to make an improvement or getting some feedback and knowing how to move that forward so that you actually can win next time. So for me, it's not just about the recognition as the end point, but it is the journey that you go on to get there. Certainly a lot of organisations that we work with actually go through the process because they want to go on the journey, because they want to analyse what is best practice in the business, what is up to date, what is brilliant. A few years ago, I used to go and see businesses who would want to win awards for being a great place to work, and they wanted to show me their pool table and their popcorn machine and the fact that they did cool things and beers on a Friday. Well, now that is not going to get you a great place to work award, because it's actually about people's well-being and that kind of thing. So, times change, trends change, and how do you know if you really are doing the best things for your business, for your people, for your customers, if you're not benchmarking somewhere along the way? So I always think, go into these competitions, learn something and use it to bring the business forward, and that will help you reach your potential.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Reclaim Tax UK. If you're in business, you could be owed thousands in R&D tax credits. Reclaim Tax UK makes claiming R&D tax credits easy. There's no risk, no win, no fee. Head over to reclaimtaxuk.co.uk to learn more. Now back to the podcast.
It is so true about, number one, it doesn't just happen. Number two, is a fine line between if you win and you don't, and you always learn. I will say that the people that do eventually win the awards, they have the mindset on it. It's one of their goals. It's definitely, they're that proactive about doing it, and you see them all of the time entering awards, to be honest. And let's move on to awards. So your business is called August Awards.
Yes.
Why August?
So it's August Recognition. We're known as August Awards. So I'm a linguist, and I love words that have a deeper meaning than So August is the month, as most people know, but it actually has a second sense, which means respected and admired. So back in the olden days, people would have gone to these beautiful drinks receptions and things, and if they were hanging out with lords and ladies, they might have said, "You're in August company." So it's actually August. And so we kind of went on a slightly subtle angle for recognition. So we do everything around that.
Respect and admire.
Yeah.
Who are the people in your life that you respect and admire the most?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, I'd say at the moment, obviously, my children come into it a lot.
How old are they?
So I've got two daughters. They are 22 and nearly 20.
Wow, I didn't think you were going to
So
be
one, so one is she has just completed her degree. She got first class honours, and in design for performance. And she is currently working in the theatres. So she's at Les Mis and she's doing other creative projects during the day. And my goodness, she works hard. And I really admire that. And I really admire that she made a goal. She decided where she wanted to go and she got on the road to get there. My youngest daughter is nearly 20. She's in her second year at uni, and she really didn't think that she would go to university. She didn't know what direction to go in. She struggled a little bit at school. She has dyslexia. She's very physically capable. She's just brilliant with people. But she never really was made to feel at school that she was important. And this was something that came up for me recognition wise a lot, because actually she started to think, what am I ever going to achieve? How can I possibly go to uni? She plays cricket as well, and as a young child, her cricket coach actually told her she wasn't strong enough to bowl, and it put her off playing cricket for such a long time. And she was only 10 years old, and I'll never forget that day, because she was devastated and she was humiliated and she never wanted to play cricket again. We gave it a little break, and then we tried her out in another cricket team. And she went on to get Bowler of the Year awards year after year after year. And her determination for that actually led to her then doing a college course in childcare and education. And she loves sport and she loves children, and she decided she wanted to be a sports teacher. And her reason for that, and I'm so proud of her, and she put this on her personal statement, is that she never wants another child to feel the way she felt when she was told she wasn't strong enough to do something when she was younger. And so for me, both my daughters are strong girls who have battled their way through various things to get to a point where they are now achieving their dreams. So she's now at university studying physical education for primary years, and she's really looking forward to getting out in the world and teaching those young kids and girls like her, you are strong enough and you can achieve whatever you believe you can.
Really nice story, nice passionate outburst as well. Right in the middle of all of that, you said your first daughter, what was her name?
Amelia,
that you were respected and admired her because of her determination.
Yeah.
And then, for hard work, you said for the first one. You said hard work. And your second daughter, what's her name?
Katie.
You said her level of determination.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about yourself? What do you respect and admire most about yourself?
Well, I think they probably get a little bit of that from Mum.
Right.
I've overcome a lot of hurdles to get where I am, and I am definitely somebody who, in the face of difficult situations and circumstances, sees the bright lights, sees the positive, finds a way forward and a way out and a way to keep going. So for me, I guess it's resilience, I'd say, and actually having the self-awareness to know when I'm taking myself off course, actually, and I'm getting in my own way. Years and years ago, when I started my business, I went into an accelerator program. And I remember one of the first things I said to one of the tutors there was, well, don't ever make me speak, because I'm not speaking in public. There's no way I can do that. And they were like, okay, Donna, yeah, that's fine. And then as time went on, they'd say, Donna, could you just come up and just tell people this? And then I learned that actually I really enjoyed it. But there was still a fear there, and a lot of people have fear of public speaking. That's
it's the number one fear in the world.
Oh, and I believe it, and I'm there. But actually, I've learned that you have strategies, you have coping techniques, and all of that to get through it and get past it, and actually you can then enjoy it. I think that's for a lot of things. If you see something as a barrier, you've got a choice, haven't you? You can either turn around and go in another direction, or you can work out how to get past the barrier.
So not only do you help people give more recognition, you help them get more recognition, you help people win awards. Mm-hmm. You're a multi-award winning judge as well. Is that right?
Yes, so I invest a lot of time in judging a lot of awards.
Right, so you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly,
100%.
all right. So give us a few stories of the best and worst award entries you've ever seen.
Okay. Well, the worst ones, I probably didn't read them all, so they got put on the scrap
What made
heap.
you turn away then? So what repelled you from reading?
There's so many different ways of approaching award entries, and often there's people who want to tell their story, and then there's the criteria. and they never the twain shall meet. So sometimes it's just as simple as what you're saying here has no relevance to the category or to the criteria. We can't possibly judge you on this. Sometimes the judging I'm doing is face-to-face. And so we will have presentations and pitches, a bit Dragon's Den style. So people will come in, they'll pitch to the panel. The things there that can go wrong or that can turn you off of something is actually people coming in with a bit of arrogance about it, or thinking, well, I'm not really interested, I don't really value your opinion, but I think my business is brilliant, and that's it. Or there's often an assumption that, well, we are the best, so, you know, you're just going to agree with us and that's it. And not really a respect for, you might be a bigger business, but that doesn't mean you're the best one, actually. The thing that really resonates with me and what I really love about meeting all of these different people through awards is the human impact. So it's when you actually can show that there's a difference you're making somewhere for someone in their life. And that could be very personal, very individual. If you're working from client to client. So it could be you have a client and you've made a direct impact. Coaches often do this with their clients. Or it might be that as a business, you're doing things that are changing the world for us, and the world around us is literally changing because of the innovations that you're making or what you're doing. But some of the stories I love, so there's one that I judged years ago, and it always sticks in my memory, was a digital agency who were working with a housing association, and they needed to get that housing association needed to digitize, essentially. So instead of everyone always coming to see them in person, it was getting too big for that. And so they needed people to be able to send emails. This is back in the day when it was all quite new. They needed people to be able to communicate with them digitally. But their clients, so the people who were living in the houses of the housing association, often didn't have devices, they weren't computer literate, etc. So they, between them, set up a hub to train the residents of the housing how to use computers. They gave them devices. It was really good. And then they told us a story of an 80-year-old gentleman who lived in the housing, and he came and he learned how to use Twitter, now X at the time. And so they taught him how to tweet, and he went home and he tweeted them, please can somebody bring me a cheese sandwich? And so somebody did go and bring him a cheese sandwich. But it just showed that really anything is possible, but there's a human at the end of every interaction. And no matter whatever technology you're designing, no matter if you've got SaaS product, there's always a human at the end of it who needs something. So for me, as a judge, that was just a great story that showed it was a digital project, but it showed compassion for the human impact.
Is that right? So there's a subjectivity in there.
Yeah, of course.
Is that the same for all judges, or are some judges completely logical?
Well, obviously, we're all different. So we all come at things from different sides, and all judging criteria is different. So when you're judging on a panel, you've all got the same goal because you want to find the best winner, but you might be coming with different experiences. And recently I was judging an award. It was an Entrepreneur of the Year award, actually. It was a big, big award. And the panel was in discussions about who should win, let's say. And there was about 3 people in the running. And I felt quite passionate about one person in particular because their impact was very widespread. And the multiplier, the force multiplier of the award would enable them to do so much more with what they were doing. Whereas for some of the other people, they'd kind of achieved what they were going to achieve. And this was like a nice bit of recognition, but it wasn't necessarily going to have further impact. Yeah. So actually part of the decision making in that was actually, what can this award do for this person to enable them to go on and do more? So yes, it's about what they've already achieved, but there's also part of it which is about what can we help them to achieve with the award as well.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that you said, little mini stories, right at the start, you said the criteria versus the story that you want to tell. Number one, they've got a link.
Absolutely.
And then I like it. There's a bit of attention grabbing power in the 80-year-old man, learning how to tweet. And
absolutely.
That being...
But more than anything, and it was great, and it was a great story, obviously, but it shows that the organisation had thought about the end user. So they weren't just in there to input what they needed to do, make the money that they were going to make from it and walk away. They're thinking about always the end user and the human impact. So I say there's 3 things that need to come together in order for you to win an award, essentially. One of them is your logical impact. So, why is it you're doing what you do in a way that makes sense and is logical for the world? One of them is your ethos. It's your values. That's the part where you're going to actually engage with the judges and where they're going to want to root for you to win. And that's where you talk about the human impact and the human difference that you're making. And then you need to evidence both of those. So you need quantitative and qualitative evidence. So the businesses that come out best in the awards that they're entering are the ones that have thought through all of that. And often the ones that are not winning, but they think they should be, just haven't been able to balance the quantitative and qualitative evidence to be able to show, yes, we've got the numbers to prove that what we say works, but we've also got the human impact to show you that it matters. And I think that's the difference.
Love that. 3 criteria there: logical impact, your ethics and values, and then evidence, both qualitative and quantitative. Love that structure. Okay, so that's how to enter the awards. So as a judge, you've probably seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to speeches as well.
We don't often let them speak.
Sometimes they do, though, yeah?
Yeah.
What makes a good acceptance speech and what makes a terrible one?
Well, short and sharp is usually better. I mean, if you're at a business awards, you'll lose the room if you're more than about 20 seconds. So short and sharp, but why it matters to you. But actually, what I think people forget is that the audience don't know why you've won the award. They know they know, oh, it means amazing things to our team and that's great and we love that. But why? What is it that you've actually done? So it's nice to give a little synopsis of what it is that you've achieved, and then why that's going to make a difference, not just why, because we don't know what you've done.
I mean, the other thing, I'm thinking of Oscars here, of course, and I like you sharing the why there, why you've done what you've done, and keep it short and sweet. But the first thing I look for, and I don't know why I look for this, is who are they thanking first?
Yes, but I think that can be a bit divisive as well,
right?
Because they've obviously all had the time to think it through, but everybody's got different relationships in the world, and we shouldn't be judging who they have or haven't decided to thank in that respect if we don't know what those relationships are. So we don't know who all their team are. We don't know what their family relationships are, all of that kind of thing. So for me, I think it's more about, understanding what matters to them. But when it gets very emotional, and there's been some great ones shared around the internet a lot, haven't there, in the past, I think it can be a bit overwhelming as an audience member, particularly us Brits who are quite shy of anything too emotional coming out like that. I think what works really well, and I've seen some really popular and powerful people and young people as well do this really well, is when they use the moment to actually get their message across. So you'll see Reese Witherspoon does this really well, actually. And she has a real belief in getting behind female authors and how very often their scripts would be rejected for film, but she's now a director of a company and produces films with female authors, which have been incredible. But her speeches around it really make you stop and think. And even when you think of music, like Taylor Swift does that very well as well. So then you start to realise why that person has a following that they do, because actually they're not just me. It's not all me. It's actually, I'm here to share a message that can make a difference in the world if you stop and think about it. And I like those ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken me back, actually. Last year I went to New Orleans Jazz Music Festival.
Amazing.
We'd seen Rolling Stones, and there was Hosier there that were playing, and sort of mid-set he basically addressed the audience and brought people into why he's doing what he's doing.
Oh, wow.
and the bigger thing and the human impact, and kind of really short little speech. It wasn't accepting an award or anything, but it brought people in on the journey, and it made me relate to the Reese Witherspoon comment that you're making there. Now, it can have a tremendous effect on the people in your business, and the success of your business can win in awards.
Absolutely.
Tell us more about that.
So it might help if I tell you a little bit about my journey and why we're getting there because of the people. So when I started on my entrepreneurial journey, if you like a lot of business owners, you're out there to fix a problem. And what I'd seen was that for entrepreneurs, the more that they raised their profile, the more that business came to them. And then they could grow their business, grow their team, and have an impact on the team themselves and be able to do more with their business or do more for their team that they wanted to do. So going on that journey myself and growing a business, originally we were very corporate. So we worked with a lot of very large businesses, and it was all about helping them to maintain their positions and recognise their teams.
When did you start?
So the business started in 2016. I had been in the awards industry before that, so I was already very familiar with it. And then between 2016 to 2020, pandemic, we'd grown a lot. We had a lot of brilliant clients, and we didn't work hugely with entrepreneurs because naturally entrepreneurial businesses couldn't necessarily outsource for something like awards. And it felt like a nice thing to have, but not a need to have. But I could see the difference it was making to the entrepreneurs we did work with. So I wanted to be able to do more of that, to be able to give them a bit of an injection of fuel, if you like, to grow their brand faster. So when the pandemic hit in 2020, I thought, wow, who's going to want awards? Like, what is going to happen to my business? I'd just got my first office at that point. I thought I'd made it because I'd actually got an office. And then in March, we were kicked out of the office because all hell broke loose, apparently. So I thought, well, what can I do to do something? Like, it's now or never, really. And during those years, I'd built up really good relationships across the awards industry. So during the pandemic, I had all the awards organisers started calling me. I was talking to Cannes Festival. I was talking to the UK Customer Experience Awards. I was talking to the biggest awards in the world who were saying, Donna, what's everyone else doing? What should we do? We don't know what to do. We've got our programme, but I'd say to them, well, you're halfway there because your entry process is already online. Let's just get your ceremonies online and then we can keep going. So we worked together a lot to get their ceremonies online. I gave them a lot of support, but one of the big things I said to them is now is the time to change. And it's something I'd always been passionate about, that awards were very focused on finances at the time. It was all about how much money you were making, and it was all about flashy things that you were doing in the business with your team. And I said, this is the time that we need to change, and we need to start recognising human impact. We need to start making sure that you're recognising the businesses that are doing the best things for their teams in the pandemic. They're putting them first. So across that year, I worked with all of these awards organisations to help them change their categories so that they were less about what financial results you were having and much more about what human impact you were having. And what was amazing was by the end of that year, within all these competitions, which you would never expect to see the NHS in, you would never expect to see the fire services, the rescue services in, supermarkets in, all sorts. They were all coming into these awards programs to recognise the work their teams had done to keep them going, the frontliners that were facing everything. And it was one way that they could say thank you to those teams and to say, wow, like without you, we couldn't have kept going. And it was transformational for the awards industry. And you will see now that many, many more awards now, the categories and the criteria that are in them are much more focused on drawing out human impact. Yes, we want to see business success. Yes, we want to see growth. It's a great trigger for awards. So that was one kind of huge transition that we made. And I would say I then judged a lot of those awards, and a lot of the awards organisers I'd worked with said, come and judge this category because you led it. And I cried my way through most of those awards programs because the stories we were hearing were unbelievable of what was happening, of the NHS training nurses while they were on the bus. They were having to come up with mobile ways of training them and not be in contact with each other. It was incredible. So that was really transformational. But one of the other things I did was I thought, right, what am I going to do for my little business that just had, it just got an office and now we've been kicked out. Who knows what's going to happen? Who's going to want awards? So we're doing that on one side. And then I decided to join, I'd followed Daniel Priestley's books for quite a long time. So I decided to join the Key Person of Influence program with Daniel.
Starting your own business was an exciting time, wasn't it? The good days you had and the bad. You knew you'd have to work hard, but you did it for your future. Lately, though, you're missing out on the important things in life. Time seems to be slipping by. So make the change. Claim back your work-life balance and grow your business today. Visit actioncoach.co.uk.
And at that point, I just had an intention of obviously trying to grow the business and think about, I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. So I was like, what else can I learn? What else can I do? And that was then transformational for me, for the business and for my team, that then I was able to grow, because what Daniel helped me to see was how I could create a pathway for getting entrepreneurs more recognition and actually the impact it could have on them. So as a part of that, I wrote a book that entrepreneurs could follow to help get themselves on the road to recognition. I'd already designed a training program to teach people how to do it for themselves, so that became more prolific. And I had more partnerships than I could probably handle at the time. So from that point, our business really changed, and then we became, in 2021, part of the DENT program. And came on board with Daniel. So I'm a profile coach there now for the entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, and what a rock star Daniel is, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, we love working with Daniel behind the scenes. But look, I want to acknowledge a couple of things that you said in there. Between 2020, I was quite emotional as you were saying that story, really. Between, when in the pandemic, you'd helped really change the award industry.
Yeah, I think
acknowledging human.
Yeah, I think it'd been for too long. I'd been frustrated for, this company might not look as big, but they're doing amazing things. But everyone's focusing too much on the money, and I guess I've never been someone who's motivated in that way, and I've always been much more passionate about people. So for me, it was always about people, and I just needed other people to see that. But the other thing that was interesting was the awards industry is huge. And it's unregulated. So there's thousands of awards out there in the world. And it's really important that people understand which ones are credible, which ones they should be entering. And it's really important that the awards know how to put themselves forward in a way that people understand that. I'm a linguist at heart as well. So for me, the language that they're using around how they're recognising people and what they're recognising them for is really important. But I'm also really passionate about how people are out there changing the world. So it was really good to have an opportunity to talk to them all. But what's quite funny is with the awards industry, I always find they think they're in competition with each other, but they're not. Because actually, if you're doing brilliantly in your business and you're making this impact and you can win this award, the chances are there's another 20 awards you can probably win as well. Sorry, hitting the microphone. And so you actually, for me, it's about maximising the recognition that you can get and bringing those awards together to celebrate across the board.
Yeah, and look, the lasting impact that it has on a human level, as you shared the stories of the NHS and the firefighters coming in, it resonated to the fact that, look, there's a huge team morale benefit here.
Yeah.
And there's a huge personal well-being benefit.
Oh, absolutely.
To giving awards out or acknowledging people. Besides that, let's go to marketing of the business, because you said the more awards you win, the more your profile goes up, your reputation develops. Digitally, I suppose it's going to have an impact on your Google rankings.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's very, nowadays, yesterday's news is not fish and chip paper anymore. It's staying there forever. So if your yesterday's news is super positive, and it's actually all about awards and it's all about the recognition that you're getting, it's about controlling your reputation. So you are who Google says you are at the end of the day, whether you like it or not. So you do need to, as a leader, you need to understand where you personally stand out. If I Google you, what am I going to find? Okay, am I just going to find all your holiday pictures, or am I going to actually understand that you're saying you're an expert in this and you are actually demonstrating it because you're showing yourself on all of these different platforms in different ways, and recognition is part of that process. So nowadays, if you're recognised in an award, you'll get featured on their website. You get directly in front of the audience that you might even want to have as your own clients. we work very strategically with businesses to understand what their goals are and reverse engineer the results from the goals. So if you say, well, actually, we really love this kind of a customer and we'd love to get more of them, then awards can really help you with that. Well, which awards is this type of a customer at, and how can we get you involved in that to get in front of them? And actually, if they then recognise, what you're doing brilliantly, then you've got a direct route there as well. But digitally, you can be anywhere in the world. We could be looking up any country, any business, anywhere. But really, it's about understanding that you're controlling your reputation and what's going to show up for you there.
There's a lot of influence in that comment. You are what Google says you are.
100%.
And I got this from Brad Sugars as well. He says the more awards you win, the more awards you win.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
And why has it become easier to win awards? Is it because your mind's more set on it?
It's definitely not become easier to win awards, but I think, like with everything, there's a process and there's a formula. And when you understand what that is, then you can create momentum. And from a judging position, it is reassuring when you know that that business that you're judging has won other awards. You don't generally want a list of every different award that they've won. But if you've won something really significant, so for example, the King's Award for Enterprise or Best Place to Work, then that sets the scene already. So the snowball starts to build. So momentum is great. But what I always say as well is, in most awards programs and processes, you can't be recognised for what you haven't achieved yet. You can only be recognised for what you have achieved. So we're always looking backwards, and we have to look backwards to see what you've achieved in order to make you move forwards. And the higher up the prestige ladder you go with awards, the further back they look. So the King's Awards for Enterprise, for example, can look back up to 6 years on some of their categories, whereas your average industry award will look back around a year. So I always say, if you've got a great project that's happened in the last year, maximise it now, because in a year's time it's old news and someone else could be saying the same thing, and actually you've run out of time now and you can't get recognition on that campaign. So use it when it's current. Because people come to me all the time and I say, well, have you got a great case study that shows, you're telling me that you're brilliant at doing this. How can we prove it? We've got to prove everything. So which of your clients would you say is best at proving that? And they say, oh yeah, I've got this great client I worked with 4 years ago. I say, okay, well, when did you finish working with them? Oh yeah. We were just with them for about 9 months. Okay, well, that's now too late. We can't recognise that. So what you might need to do now is go and aim to get one in the next year, actually, that will prove that you're doing what you're saying you're doing. So it is all in the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. It's in the evidence that you give. So you need to make sure that is current and up to date. But equally, when you're looking back as far as something like the King's Awards will go, like 6 years, some of the categories are 3 years, it's because they want to see how you've sustained that. They want to see how you've grown over time. They want to see where the patterns are in the business. Was it ups and downs, or was it like that all the way? So there's a lot of stories to be told over time from your business. Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I think is really positive for people is we don't often take the time to stop and look back. We're so busy trying to move forward without awards. At what point do you stop and go, oh, let's just write up everything that we've done in the last few years, really reflect on our progress, actually celebrate the teams that were involved in that, celebrate the results. Unless you're doing an awards process, you often don't actually take that time. So for me, that's just as important for the teams involved to actually recognise what they've achieved and document it, have it there. Some of the businesses we work with, actually, they've done so many awards over time that they now use their awards processes, their awards entries to onboard. So because it gives the stories of the business and the development and the history in great detail to whoever their next team members are coming in.
Some really powerful points here. I mean, the listeners right now, they're getting this is like a 101 masterclass on how to enter and win awards and develop your business and reputation on the back of it. Now, I've done a little bit of research and found out a few things that you've said and quoted previously. One thing that you believe there is an award for everyone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it might not be now. You might not have got there yet. But there will definitely be something that you could be recognised for that you have
can
achieved.
set your sights on
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. And you can reverse engineer. Very often, and great businesses do this, they think, oh, I really want to win that really powerful award, whatever that is, because actually it will enable us to do so much more. Well, what's the criteria for that? What kind of businesses are winning that? Do your research, do your due diligence around it, and say, well, what was it that they were doing that set them apart? One of the things that I think's important and people don't really think about is the aggregation of marginal gains. So this is a theory that is you've probably heard come up around Team GB and cycling and the Olympics. And so what they do is they look at every minuscule thing around those cyclists, right from
pillows.
Yeah, the pillows, the beds, the mattresses, the clothing, the wheels,
Yeah.
the tyres, everything about it, everything, and tweak it in a tiny way to make it better and better and better until they just, they aggregate on those gains so that they eventually win. And that's what the best businesses are doing. They don't just say, well, we're doing this great and this great and this great. They're tweaking it constantly. They're looking at what the competition is doing and they're adjusting all the time. And then that's why they're then going on to win.
Yeah, I mean, look, that whole marginal gains thing, it's doing the little things, but going an extra mile doing the little
Absolutely.
things. And I suppose you could apply it to this as well.
Well,
I mean,
it only takes that extra little tweak sometimes to win. So if you think if someone's winning or losing an award by less than 1 point, if you just done that one extra thing, but that's not just for the business, that's for the entry as well.
Yeah. I'm just making this up. This is completely made up, but I've got the story from British Cycling is that, and this bit is not made up. They've got the marginal gains by getting a picture of the family, whatever I have on my bedside table at home. If it's a picture of me and my wife and my kids, that picture is going in your hotel room. When you get to your hotel room, your bed will be in the same place your bed is at home. It is your pillow from home. That picture's next to your bed. And that it makes you feel and believe, wow, we're doing all these extra little things. And I suppose with my team here, I could send them all, look, here's something for your bedside table. And it's to show you how important you are to me and this business. You're a special person. We've got Max, we've got Caroline here outside, something there. And we could put that in the award entry. Look, we've gone to the degree of like the bedside table that everyone's waking up next to the purpose in this business. And that could emotionally connect to a judging panel.
Or they could say people shouldn't be thinking about work in bed.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. It could be next to
I'll
the coffee
test
machine.
it on my team and let you know.
Well,
I'll give them all a little photo of me to put by their bed. I'm sure they'll love it.
Yeah, smiling away. Don't sit on the good stuff. Use it when you can, if you've got it. So you also have quoted a few statistics as well. 63% increase in revenue in the year after winning an award.
Yeah, so research has been done in various different places, and we do our own research as well with our own clients to see what's the impact of the award on your business. Now, you have to remember not all businesses are going into awards to grow. They might actually have grown enough, but they're going in to recognise the team behind it or to an innovation or a product. But lots of particularly small, medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurial businesses are going in it to grow. So it's really interesting. I always say you should measure everything. You don't know if you've got something out of something if you don't know what you wanted to get on the way in. So think about what return on investment that you want from any activity that you do in your business, marketing, advertising, awards, everything. And then you can measure against it when you come out. But when you actually look at it's a bit like writing a book. When you look at the impact all around it, that's where the uplift comes from. So we always say, if you want to try and establish what a return on investment could be from an award, start thinking about, well, if I won that award, what would one extra backlink on Google mean to me? I mean, nowadays they're worth about 500 quid or something. So if nothing but monetary value, it helps your online reputation.
How many awards actually do offer the backlink?
Most. Well, it does depend on the award. I couldn't give you a number.
But
very often
for,
they won't.
for your rankings anyway.
Yeah, but very often it's not even just a name on the awards program. It might be that they offer you content. It might be that they offer you to comment on something. They do video now. You have interviews backstage. There's so much around awards now to make them valuable. So think about what that means. Think about, well, what if you get asked to speak at one more gig this year? What about if actually one other potential client sees your name and decides to come to you? What about if you get more followers on your Instagram, or, so you add up all of that and then you look at what that brings into the business. There's a huge amount of revenue to gain from that. But certainly the feedback that we get and the research that we read, we recently wrote a white paper actually about this, shows the financial impact on businesses can be really strong. Because after all, awards wouldn't be as popular as they are today if they weren't returning some investment somewhere.
Yeah, I've just had a big realization, actually, as you said that. Awards aren't just a nice to have.
No.
They're a strategy in their own right for growth in your business.
Yeah. And they should be part of every marketing strategy now. And the best businesses in the world, you will have that as part of their marketing strategy. And the businesses that do exceptionally well in awards will often be disrupting or challenging in some way. So someone asked me yesterday, actually, why do big businesses do awards? Because I get why small businesses would do awards because they want the brand awareness and the profile, but why do big businesses do it? And I said, to defend themselves, because they need to be proving constantly what they're doing is the best or is competitive, because every big business you can think of now has a challenger. They have a disruptor. They have businesses coming along. It's easier than it's ever been to start a new business and to challenge something. So now as consumers, instead of thinking, oh, I don't like the way that business does that, I'm just going to go and choose another product. You might do that. Or you might be quite entrepreneurial and think, I'm going to set this up and I'm going to fix this for myself. And I'm going to start a business that doesn't do this for its customers. So there is this, as Daniel says, entrepreneur revolution, which has really happened a lot more since the pandemic as well. And that is creating disruptors and challenges. So don't sit on your laurels and think, oh, we're fine. Because actually, before you know it, someone's caught up with you. And then how are you proving that you are the best? It used to be, and I did quite a lot of studying around this, actually, the linguistics of it, that consumer reviews were the most trusted thing that would pull the buying trigger for us as consumers. We'd all go online, especially in the advent of Amazon. That was one of the first platforms where we all got involved in the reviews and liked to read them. But then after a while, time went on and we realised that not all reviews are real. There's different ways of faking this. And actually there's competitors putting poor reviews on things. There's so much goes on now with reviews that there's actually been research and studies shown that now consumers want to see reviews and credible external awards before they will believe whether that is the right business to actually buy from and spend their hard-earned money with. I think this became even stronger feeling after the pandemic, because in the pandemic worldwide, we all suddenly had to make all our purchases from home. We couldn't go out to the shops. We couldn't go and touch something, feel something, decide if we trusted that person that we were talking to. It all became online. So now it's suddenly just a direct comparison. Well, should I buy my holiday here or should I buy my holiday here? Well, this one's got 3 awards for customer service and this one hasn't. I think I'll go with this one. It's definitely safer.
What would you say to people that are sceptical, or they think that winning awards is superficial, or they think that I'll do it next year?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's kind of 3 different people in there. I think you're right to be sceptical. I think if you come into it with a keen eye and doing your due diligence, you'll do better in the end. So the awards industry is not regulated, and I think that's really important for people to understand. More and more today, just like there's scammers in everything, there are scammers who will approach you and tell you you've won an award and you need to pay some money and you're going to be sent this award. Don't do it. Throw it away like you would every other one. So come into it with some skepticism so that you do your due diligence. We do it for our clients so that they know they're going into credible programs, so they don't have to worry about it. But a lot of people are entering programs all the time and then saying, oh gosh, I've spent money and I shouldn't have done. So that's one thing. One thing that comes up a lot is the money around awards. So, again, whether an award charges you or doesn't charge you is not sufficient to say whether they are credible or not credible. So some awards programs are heavily sponsored, so they don't have to charge people to enter because their costs are covered to run the event. Some awards programs are not sponsored, or they actually are pure play awards organisers and they're organising events all the time. They have to charge a fee for you to enter, or they wouldn't be able to put the event on. So don't just take whether it does or doesn't have a fee as whether it is kosher or not. Actually look around the award. Are they online? Can you talk to a human being? Does it look like they have events that you can see? That kind of thing. So if you're ever worried, do look deeper into it. Then there's the people who say that, well, they're superficial. Why do I need that? Well, okay, well, I'm not here to convince everybody that, awards are right for them. Because if you go into an awards program with that kind of an attitude, you might actually find you don't win anyway. Actually, if you go into it understanding that they're a key part of your marketing process, they're a key part of your employee engagement process to keep your team on board, they're a key part of showing your customers that you are working hard to keep up the best levels of customer experience that you possibly can. They could be even a key part of your sustainability program or your environmental changes that you're making, or your corporate social responsibility, So they drive a lot of different elements in the business, and you can use them to help you create great impact in your business as well.
Hi, I am Rachel Riley, and I'm really pleased to tell you that I will be the host of BizX 2025. 3 days of speaker sessions, interactive events, and a few surprises along the way.
If you're an ambitious business owner eager to unlock the next level of growth, get more information at thebizx.co.uk.
Looking forward to seeing you there.
Often I find the people who think that they're just superficial and don't want any recognition, maybe in their world, recognition is not an important thing. I would be interested to know how much recognition they give out as well for people around them. There's different ways of looking at it.
Well, the point is, it's not just about you. It's about the team.
Exactly.
It's about the engagement. It's about the retention. It's about the community impact.
But it's also about shining a spotlight. So a lot of people think, oh, if I go into an award, everyone just thinks I'm me. I'm a big old show off, and I'm going to go onto LinkedIn and shout about myself. And you might be a solo entrepreneur. So it's not about your team because you don't have one. Actually, it's about the impact that you're making in the world. So if you have a purpose that you're out there doing something good in the world and you're helping other businesses, let's say, to grow and to succeed, then by getting the recognition that you deserve from the work that you've done, you can do more of that. You can help more people. You can shine the spotlight on what they need to see and what they need to hear to help them to grow. So it's actually about taking the recognition and shifting it. Yeah. So we have something called Who Wins When You Win as a campaign. So it's about thinking, and this often helps people to get over imposter syndrome when they're thinking of entering awards, is, okay, stop making it about you. It's not about you. You might have to tell the story of you in order to get the award, but actually who's going to win when you win that award? And can you could even pledge something to share that success. So we have people who will say, you know what, if we win this award, we're going to go and take the whole team out volunteering for a day to celebrate their recognition and share that success with someone else. And you can do that as an individual. We do it in our team. Every time one of our clients wins, we make a contribution. And so we will do various different things in the team. So we'll do fundraising, I do mentoring. So we celebrate and share their success. So it's actually about making the recognition a force multiplier for helping other people and making an impact.
Who wins when you win? How long have you been doing this?
I've been in the industry since 2012. My business since 2016. So over a decade.
So now you're officially an expert on all
well,
awards.
I've been around the block a bit with it.
I've got a few quick questions for you, actually. What's the hardest lesson that you've had to learn in life?
Oh, well, that's a tough one. When I was a young person, when I was 15 years old, I had a family breakdown. And as a result of that, I was given a choice. And on my 16th birthday, I was told I could either choose to go and live in a foster home, or I could live in a new home that was being trialled by social services for girls with potential, they called us. And that was girls like me who had, for no reason of their own, their family, for whatever reason, wasn't able to look after them anymore. So I chose that option. So I moved into a house with 4 girls. We were 16, 17, learning to live independently. And you find our way through life on our own. I was still at school. I was trying to do GCSE exams at the time. And even the location was difficult to get to school. But what's been a life lesson for me there was the house was owned by an entrepreneur who we didn't know, but who him and his wife had set up this scheme with the social services, and they were more than landlords and landladies, and they would come round and check on us and make sure we weren't having parties and things like that. And one day Andrew came round and he said, "Right, girls, get ready, we're all going out." And we were like, "Where are we going?" And he said, "Come on, we'll get in the car, we're going out, we're taking you out." And he took us to a beautiful hotel just down the road. And we sat outside in the garden, and there was peacocks roaming around the garden, and we were drinking tea. And he said to each of us, "Right now, girls, what are you going to do with the rest of your lives? Come on, you need a plan." And so different girls had different plans of what they wanted to do. One wanted to be a hairdresser, different things. And he got to me, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what I wanted to do. When I had wanted to be a teacher, I'd wanted to be an English teacher. For me, my hopes of going to university at that point had disappeared. Everything I knew that was familiar had disappeared. And I didn't even know if I wanted to wake up the next day sometimes. And I said, I don't know, Andrew, I don't know what I want to do. And he said, "Donna, you can achieve anything that you want to if you just believe in yourself. And if you focus, don't let the boys get your attention, and just stay on the right path." He said, "I promise you, you can achieve anything." And I think that was the first time somebody had actually recognised there was some potential in me. And so I went back to school. I completed my exams, and I needed to work because I needed money, and I wasn't able to go to university. But I thought, what can I do to work that will help teach me something? I really genuinely love learning, even as a young person. And there was a dental practice around the corner from me, and they were taking on apprentice dental nurses. So I took a job there as an apprentice dental nurse. I did my qualifications, and about 2 years down the road, I moved out of that home. I moved in with friends. So I'd really kind of moved on my life. And I decided that I was quite frustrated with sometimes the way things were done. And there was this big change in legislation at the time, which meant that dentists had to have a chaperone with them in the dental surgery all the time. And so what happened was, in the dental industry, is there suddenly was a shortage of nurses. And if your nurse went on holiday or was off sick, you as a dentist couldn't work because you needed to have a nurse in. So I decided to start a business, and I started a dental nurse agency, and I literally got a little red book of roadmaps. I'd learnt to drive, and I drove round to every single dental practice I could find in a map, because back then we didn't have Google, and handmade business cards. And I just walked in, and I'd say to these dental receptionists, "Hi, I'm Donna. I'm here to fix any of your dental nurse shortages, and I can supply dental nurses for you," etc. So I went on to build a business where I was oversubscribed pretty much from day one. And I was 19 at that time. So that little journey that I went on showed me that actually there's opportunity in everything, and there's opportunity everywhere. You can make it happen. Sometimes you do have obstacles that you have to overcome. And it wasn't really until later, when I was working in awards, that I realised, when I look back, what a difference that recognition had made to me. The difference in someone saying to me, "You can achieve whatever you want to, and you have got potential." That for me was transformational for my life.
Without putting the words in your mouth, I mean, what is the most beautiful thing in recognition?
I think it is enabling others to see their own potential. I think that's one of the things we're often most blind to, is actually what we do have the power to achieve. It's especially nowadays with social media, and especially for young people, it's too easy to compare yourself to everyone's videos that they've spent 6 hours polishing to get on social media, you know, that are looking like they're always on their A game, and you're feeling absolutely rubbish. You're having a down day. But there's something in everybody that we should recognise, and that we should find the fire in them, but give them, spark that fire for them to be able to go on and achieve their potential. So for me, that's something that I believe in all the time. Even in my own team, recruiting my own team, for every single person that's come into my team, we're in a very niche industry. So I've never recruited anyone who's actually from the industry. They've all come from different places, but enabling them to achieve their potential and finding the right path for them and giving them the opportunity to change and really bring out what's the best for them, I think is so important.
What should the headline be for this podcast?
Oh, but now you've stumped me.
Well, I've just grabbed something that you just said, actually. So let's just brainstorm it for a second.
Who wins when you win?
Who wins when you win? Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? Let's capture that. Recognise your power to achieve.
Yeah.
You know, who wins when you win? All right. Now they've listened to it. What's the first action point?
The first action point, I say, if for a business, would be just go and make some notes on what happened in the last year for your business. So what is it that you achieved? Which clients did you have, or your customers? What's grown? So has your revenue grown? Has your customer numbers grown? Has your ability to do something grown? Has your team grown? So what's grown? Look for growth, because growth is a good trigger across all of those things for any awards. So that's a good starting point. And then zoom in. So, well, how can I prove that? And what is the human impact that I'm really making? So it might be that you've just got one client or one case study that you can show that on. It might be that there's numerous. It might be that actually what you do is product focused, but what difference is that product making to people's lives? So I think it's just going and taking a moment to just take a look back at what you've achieved, because whatever you achieved last year could be recognised this year, and I don't want you to miss out by leaving it too long.
Don't sit on the good stuff, folks.
Exactly.
What's your favourite book you've ever read?
That's an interesting one. Business or fiction?
Business.
I'm trying to think now. I read business books all the time as well, continually. What would be my favourite business book?
Out of Daniel's, which is his best one as well.
I can't say one of Daniel's.
You can. I've read them all. There you go.
I actually think lesser mentioned is 24 Assets.
Yeah.
Because actually there's so many digital assets in your business that would make it easier. And people often forget that one. Obviously, key person of influence is super important. Sorry, I'll have to come back to you. My mind's gone blank on my books. I'm writing another book in the next month, though. And that's going to be focusing...
Your first book was called?
My first book's called Win. So how to raise your profile and grow your business. And that's very much centred on entrepreneurs and that journey. And often it's taking entrepreneurs from even acknowledging that actually their personal brand is really part of that journey. But this is more looking the other way. So actually looking at the world-class businesses, the most award-winning businesses in the world, and saying, what is it that they're doing that can be replicated, you can build into your business as a strategy for success? Because there's some great stories out there of real change and development that's been made through recognition.
Well, my favourite bit, I've got two favourite bits that are standouts. Number one was earlier on, you give us the structure of these are the 3 points that you must pay attention to if you want to have a chance of winning awards. That was beautiful. But then your story, when you were 16, going to the pub with the tea.
Many years ago now.
and someone believing in you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And give you some recognition and instilled, you can do this. Yeah. You can achieve. those are my two favourite bits. What about you? What's been your favourite part?
Well, I love just chatting with you, James, obviously. But I think, for me, it's more about what's important for the listener and what's actually going to inspire them to take some action. And sometimes as well, it can be the best thing for you when it doesn't even feel like it's all going to plan. Or maybe you think, well, maybe I haven't had such a great year last year, actually. Maybe it's been a bit of a dip. Well, then use it to think about how you can move forward and motivate yourself to move forward like that as well. So,
Donna O'Toole, thank you very much.
Thank you, James.